Isn't that right? We have that kind of feeling tagging on your heart. I want it. Come on, go, hurry. So that it's not embarrassing, we tell our kids to do it for us, right? Go grab those and reserve it for our family. It says here, consider others better than yourself, we for each other. What is it? What if you lose, what if you miss this lunch, this certain portion of this lunches? My favorite thing, by the way, okay? What if somebody else eats it instead of me? What did I lose? Nothing. Just lunches. I could always buy it, by the way. But you're saving what? You're saving this portion, I'm saving $3. But if I'm going to be able to show my love and humility, isn't that a more wonderful thing? Okay, that's something you got to do. And same verses, by the way, in 1 Peter 3:8, you see a series of other things that he tells us to do. The first one you see there is sympathy. It is finally, all of you live in harmony with one another. Be sympathetic, love as brothers, be compassionate. Okay? You sit there, be sympathetic. You know what sympathy means, right? Whatever the person is experiencing or is feeling, make sure that you do this. Live in harmony with them. For you to be able to understand them better, be where they are. Wear their shoes. Okay? Be on their, what is the term of that? Like wearing somebody else's shoes, something like that? Or stepping into somebody else's shoes, I forgot already. Okay, but you understand, right? Feel what they feel, see what they see, hear what they hear. That's what you got to do. And then it says again in 1 Peter 3:8, also love. And again, here it qualifies it in this harmony thing. It is love as brothers. And it is something that is so sad when it's not happening. One story that broke my heart was when I heard that this certain church worker who's married, had an affair with 2 daughters of one of the church officers at the same time. Are you with me? And because of that, this church officer who found out about this affair, this church worker with his 2 daughters, he wanted to kill the guy. So this guy had to run away and hide with his entire family. And now the wife of this guy had to leave him because she didn't like the idea of hiding and not being able to do things that she wanted to do. Things devastated the church because of this, and we would have avoided that, and they would have avoided that had they exercised this kind of brotherly love instead of lustful kind. Okay, so you got to be sympathetic, love as brothers, and then the last part of that says compassion. Simply compassion is also rendered in the Amplified as tender-hearted, NASB is kind-hearted, in Authorized Version or King James Version as pitiful. So if you really look at it, it's just saying that don't be so tough. You know, be sensitive. When you're seeing somebody suffering, make sure that you are not so tough that you're not feeling what they're feeling. Be kind to them. Pity them. Okay, you have a softer heart than what you really, really have. That's what compassion is all about. It has to do with softness of heart. And then the last one is concern. Corinthians 12:25 says, so that there should be no division in the body, 1 Corinthians, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. See, there's no favoritism in this church. It's something that you got to do. My love for hope. Okay? There's got to be the very same love I have for Leanne, very same love I have for Joseph, very same love I have for Jack, very same love I have for Ryan. Do you think that's easy? What I'm saying is there's got to be equal love for each other. Love these guys. You got to say that, or else Jack's not going to lend me his SLR digital camera anymore. I don't even say that. But anyway, so those are things that you got to be really be doing. Okay, you got to be able to put yourself in your shoes. When I first became a Christian, the Lord has given me the privilege of sitting under a tutelage of people who are, we call it big-time people, or preachers and teachers in way back home where I was growing up as a Christian, in my Christianity. One of them is considered to be, probably, I would agree, one of them is considered to be the best preacher I've ever heard among my countrymen. He was really good. And he was one of the pastors I sat under. One of them is probably one of the best theologians and where I studied. And one of them is considered to be one of the best teachers there ever was way back home. And even in the Bible school where I came from, he's considered to be the one with the highest average until now. It's an unbroken average he has from Bethel Bible College. So I sat under those people, in the ministries of those people, and I was like, wow, we are, and these people belong to a denomination, a born-again Christian denomination, that somehow was responsible, and they trailblazed the way for evangelicals or born-again Christians being on television, church growth, and so on and so forth. They were powerful. These people were powerful. And then I found out eventually that something happened to them. These two big people sued each other. At least one of them sued the other person. And the reason was because during one of the elections for president of their denomination, for general superintendent, one accusation against one person said that this leader, I'm telling you, these big guys, wonderful, men of God. The accusation was that this guy brought more delegates to vote for him than are allowed by the organization. So they said he cheated in bringing more delegates in that election time. And then so during the time that he was on the pulpit, this guy that was being accused of that, he was trying to justify himself and give reasons that when he was showing to the people in that congregation, that among the delegates, he was showing to them and explaining his side that, look, I did not cheat. This is so technically right. And while he was explaining, guess what happened? The people who were on the other side unplugged the amplifier, and they could not hear him anymore. These are two of the biggest, most intelligent, supposedly most godly people in their denomination, the biggest names there were. And they fought and they sued. One person sued the other guy who was accused of this, and the other guy walked. And it just became a riot. That denomination still grew, but I believe it's not as powerful as it could have become. It destroyed the body just because nobody was willing. I was just thinking, what if they just acted in humility and respect and trying to feel for each other where the other person is coming from? The most recent news that you probably have heard is something that really devastates me. They don't know me, I know them. Yeah, but you've heard of this big place somewhere in Orange County. It is an architectural marvel. You hear the pastor being the pioneer in Christian television, the very first preaching on Sundays that are being telecast years and years ago, I think 40 years ago. But now they have filed for bankruptcy. One of the reasons they say is because of the economy, but one of the reasons I know that was revealed on the internet as I saw it was how him and his son had a fight or misunderstanding. That instead of reuniting, they are still not on speaking terms. And sometimes in my head I'm going, I don't know these guys, they don't know me. I want to go there and just like look for the son and look for the father and just treat them for dinner. They'll probably pay for my dinner because they're rich. We just get them together. We just put sense in their mind. Is this worth losing, this ministry that has been there for 40 years, preaching all over the world, in this beautiful architectural wonder that has been preserved for so many years, and people would look at it as a testimony that we have a God who's good and who prospers us and who provides for us. Is this worth it? For us not to be humble, just to hear each other. You know, we've got denominations, guys. Honestly, they said years and years ago, we got more than 2,000 denominations here in the United States alone. And every time I would go to some programs or functions, we see denominations here in America between born-again Christians thinking all the time that, hey, I know better than you do. You guys are lower, we are higher. And it seems like instead of humility, we Christian denominations are acting in so much pride. That's the reason why we're so divided. That's the reason why Jesus prayed, let them be one, as we are one. So many things are happening. We're being divided, we're not getting along with each other. When in reality, we should be a very, very powerful force, and that's what the Lord wants us to do. for us to be really united wherever you may be, from the denominational front, okay, to a church front, to a home front. Okay, if we will be able to get rid of all those attitudes that we talked about a while ago, pride, conceit, selfishness, we'll be able to put in place of those humility, empathy or sympathy, and all those things we talked about today, compassion and concern. We know that we're going to go places. Okay? It is something that I'm encouraging everybody to do today. How many of you would like to have a wonderful relationship? It's not only, again, you're not only this. See, the thing is, but I'm enjoying my relationship without Christ. Honestly speaking, you haven't really enjoyed the kind of relationship that is more enjoyable than anything you're enjoying right now until you have experienced a relationship with Jesus Christ as the center. But for some of us, we're having a hard time. And I said, it can be done because you need Jesus Christ for you to be able to give what you don't have. People are naturally people of pride. Whether it's men, they said the more. But women, we are not exempt from it. How many of you women would be honest with me? Don't be shy. Okay, I'm just going to ask, just to prove my theory. Right? How many of the women here would say that I have a little bit of problem? Just say a little bit, it's not too embarrassing. Okay? I have a little bit of problem with pride. Raise your hand. Yeah, that proves my point. One person raising your hand proves my point. Women do experience it as well. So how many of us will be going to say, instead of me trying to ask those people to catch up to me, to my standard, go to where I am, and me blocking them because we're not the same elitist movement, elitist part of this church, I'm the one who's going to go where they are and try to listen. I'm going to start, okay? Can we commit to that? Can we commit to that? And how many of you are saying right now, I want to do this? Okay, get rid of all this pride where everything is about me, but I'm going to focus in such a way that it's all about God's glory. How many of you would leave the church if we start singing hymnals again instead of praise and worship? You're confused. You don't know what to answer, right? Because I may take you up for that challenge next Sunday. Sundays to come, we may start singing hymnals, and you're stuck. You cannot leave, right? Okay, how many of you will leave the church if we start singing hymnals again? So praise God if you're not raising your hand. What I'm saying is that's the kind of maturity we're looking for. It's not so much about those things anymore. It's not about what's good for me. Okay? How many of you who are about 50 years old or 40 years of age would leave if we start singing with probably double the decibel of the music we had right now, this morning? Double the loudness. Okay, we may not understand why, but the reason why we do things is because we're catering to some people and we're trying to do the best that we can, okay, to make sure that we're being relevant, probably to the kids or to the adults. So all these things, my prayer is that it's not so much about me, what I want, what I like, okay? How many of you are not going to start attending church anymore if we don't have AC in FCF? Or we don't have a heater during winter time? All these things. So you've got to be careful. It's not so much. What about if, how many of you will stop attending church if I don't regain my voice back? And every Sunday this is how I preach, like I'm whispering to you guys. Will you come back? It's the same thing that I'm asking you. Please think about other people instead of yourself. And when you are not in agreement with somebody, make sure that you go where they are. Step into their shoes and find out, would you do that for me? How many of you right now, don't raise your hand though, how many of you are not really in good terms with some people? At least a little bit. I'm not asking you. Right now, sometimes we gotta categorize these things. I'm not asking you. Some of you are always coming to me like, but I have a litigation against this person tomorrow. Be able to go there and say, I made a mistake. Be wise. I'm not asking about those things. I'm just talking about, I'm not saying no, I'm not saying yes. I'm talking about the regular, ordinary relationships we have right now where you're really not in good terms with this person. Living with them, you're together with them, but it seems like there's not a lot of good vibes, quote unquote, going on between you. And what you want to do is you're committing today to do what Christ asked you to do with each other.